A lot of golfers don't understand what should be happening during the downswing and during the transition, and specifically what's happening with the golf club as you're bringing it down into impact. And in this video, we're going to talk about from the down the line view what I refer to as squaring the face early, and what that's going to do for your golf swing, especially if you're used to coming in with a very, very open face, as so many golfers struggle with this, and then they have to try and time a flip at the bottom to get the club face back square at impact. So first, let's look at what that looks like. As I come down into impact, if I'm in a decent position at the top and I start coming down, a lot of golfers I see are with the club face in this position coming down. This is very, very open versus this would be very shut, and this would be where we're working towards, okay? So as they start pulling down, they just start ripping the handle of the golf club down, typically in an effort to produce lag, which is totally the wrong way about doing it. And they leave the club face wide open. So as we get into this position where we're almost at impact, the club shaft is parallel to the ground, the club face is still kind of looking at the sky. And as they come down, now the club face is still very, very open. And then right at the last second, they try and flip it and stop everything. And that's why a lot of golfers end up with a really flippy impact position that they look like this, where they're flipping it, is because they're doing it in an effort to square the club face. Can't blame them. If they don't do something to try and get that club face square, the ball is going to go a mile right, and it's going to be a very weak, slappy slice. So the cure for that is to do things correctly. As always, we don't put band-aids on swings with RST, is that you start working to square the club face early in the downswing, so that as you come down, there's very little rotation going through impact of the club face. And we're going to talk about what that means. If you just imagine that my club face is sitting here, and I open it so you can see the club face and shut it really fast, that's going to be measured in terms of degrees of rotation per second. And so you could imagine if I take this club and spin it as fast as I can, let's just use a ballpark number and say that's rotating at 1,000 degrees per second. So it's rotating very rapidly. Now, in a good golf swing, we want to have very little rotation or very slow rotation through impact, because we want to square the face early in the downswing, and so that degrees of rotation per second might go down to 250, 300 degrees. So instead of having a flash flip coming into impact and hope we manage to time that consistently, which we'll never do, that club face is going to be already pretty square and rotating only a few hundred degrees of rotation per second. So that's the ideal, so that you're not trying to flip it. The only way that you can do that is to obviously be in a good position at the top, proper grip, etc. We spend all this time working on those things. But two is now as you start coming down, one of the first keys is that you can start flattening this wrist, left wrist. And as you're doing that, it's actually going to happen a little bit at the top. You're rotating your hand this way. Now I'm going to exaggerate this, okay? So you don't want to start just flipping it over. But this is the move. Versus just pulling it down and keeping the back of your glove facing the sky, imagine that you're taking the back of your glove and turning it down. So this is all I'm doing. I'm taking my hand and I'm just rotating it this way. And let's see what happens to the club. Versus if I just pull it down, club face is going to be wide open. Now I'm going to take it and just do that same motion. We're going to start rotating it down. And now the club face is starting to look at the ball. And so now my degrees of rotation per second has been cut down dramatically. That's a critical piece in the downswing. If you don't do that, you're going to have some sort of flash speed at the bottom and hope that you save it with your hands, and you're always going to struggle and be inconsistent. So as you've mastered the backswing and you're now on to working on the transition, you want to start working on very slowly adding some rotation, flattening that left wrist, so that as you come down into impact, you're going to feel that the back of your hand is pointing down at the ground at impact, versus coming in very open where your logo, your glove is pointing away from you, and then flipping it at the last second. So here, start rotating it down, get your logo, your glove facing the ground, and then go through the left hand release drill, and you will feel what it feels like to have a proper impact position, and slow down the release of the club so you're no longer trying to learn to time a flip.